Okay guys, hello, what is up? Welcome in or welcome back to my channel. So hopping straight into this is my first, like, I guess official book video. I've been into reading now like for a couple years. However, it's just definitely like got a lot more intense this past 2 years, and I finally wanted to go ahead and do a book. So if you can't already tell by the title of today's video, we're going to be doing my May wrap up and then also my June TBR, and I'm going to go through it. And also there is one book that I DNF, so did not finish, but it's kind of like a halfway DNF because like I plan to pick it back up, but I just didn't finish it now. But without further ado, I'm gonna hop into this. Let's start with the books that I read in May here. So some of it was like a little crossover, like I started it in April and then like I finished it in May, but I'm still gonna group it into May's because that's when I actually finished it, you know? Of course, we have our iced coffee. Starting out with the classic summer book, the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy here. There's our super quick short reads. If you guys haven't already, first of all, read the books and watched the series, I highly recommend both. The series is on Amazon Prime. I actually watched the series first and I didn't realize like it was all based off a book. And then this summer I went ahead and actually ordered the trilogy here. It's pretty cheap. I just got mine off Amazon. I'm a paperback girly and they're like so fluffy, which I absolutely love. I do have all these books, by the way, linked to my Amazon storefront if you do want to shop them. Most of the time I get my books from either Amazon or Half Price Books just because they're typically the cheapest there. But I absolutely love these. So if you guys don't know what these are about, starting off, there is, without like saying it but also not giving too much away, so there's a main character, Belly. She and her mom and her older brother Steven, they go to, it's called Cousins, so they go to this beach house every single summer, and it's like summer's her favorite time. I think it's like in there, like she basically, like her life is measured in summers. It's like one of the little quotes from there. And then they also go to this beach house. So who actually owns the beach house is her mom's best friend, Susanna. She has two boys, Jeremiah and Conrad, and so they all go to this beach house every single summer and they like stay there. They've all like grown up together. Belly's always had this major crush on Conrad, like he is her first love. But then Jeremiah kind of has like feelings for Belly, so there's a little love triangle going on, and then it just takes you like throughout the whole little stories. But it's so much more than that. It's not just like this little sweet little romance. There's like tragedy in here. There's kind of like conflict. I don't know. I definitely will say I like the series better than I do the actual books, but it was cool to see. If you watch the series first, there's some like certain things in there. Like for example, Belly has this teddy bear that's like shown in the series multiple different points, but there's never been the story of like what this teddy bear, like where'd it come from, like why is this keep being shown. It just shows it like it's always on her bed. And then in the books it explains like the story behind the teddy bear, so it's kind of, I feel like I was getting like the in-depth like behind the scenes like look of their life, which was kind of cool. So I definitely love this. Definitely not like a 5-star read. I'd probably give these a 4-star, not because it's like earth-shattering writing or anything. It's just such a fun summer read that I thoroughly enjoyed. If you can't tell, like they make me very, very happy. So that is the first book. And then the second one, I have heard so much hype. This is Beach Read by Emily Henry. So many people have hyped up this book and like given it 5 stars. So I went into this with high expectations. And I gotta say, it did not live up to the hype for me. I don't know what it is. So I'm gonna read the back for you, or I don't even need to read the back. So to go over like a general synopsis of this, so there is two people, what are their names? It's Augustus and then what do they call him by? They don't call him by his foreign name. Gus. That's what he goes by in the book, Gus. So Augustus or Gus, and then January, and basically they're like kind of rivals in college, and then they end up, it's kind of like second chance trope type vibe, but like enemies to lovers, all of this. And I don't know, it was just so like predictable, and there were certain points of the book that I don't know, felt so like dry in that sense, and I'm like, why am I even reading this? Like, why is this in here? I don't know. Maybe I just like, I don't know. This just, it wasn't it for me. Like I genuinely, it was one of these books where I wasn't excited to finish it. I genuinely just finished it so I could put it on my list of finished books, like to like a tally on the mark to like my yearly goal. if that makes sense. So I don't know, wasn't my favorite. I wish, there's been a couple different Emily Henry books. I started Malibu Rising a while ago and I couldn't finish it. I don't know, maybe, I know a lot of people love her. I just think maybe her writing's not for me. I'm gonna try again. I really want to try Happy Place that I've seen come out. People love that, but this one's, it's just not for me. It has kind of like the stereotypical like love, like I feel like I already knew what was going to happen for it, and there was just some things that were so dramatic. I'm like, it's not that deep. It's really not that deep. And I don't know, the guy kind of had the typical like, I'm closed off, I have secrets, blah blah blah. It just wasn't it for me. I wish it was. I really wish it was. A second is going to be another series. This is actually a trilogy. I'm waiting on the third copy. It was on, for the paperback, it was on pre-order, so it's coming at some point in July. So I'm only partway through the series, 2/3 of the way, but this is the Inheritance Games trilogy. When I say I absolutely love this, it's still not a 5-star read for me, but if you are looking to get out of a book slump and like you're just like, nothing's like catching your interest, I highly recommend starting this. It is absolutely so good. So to give you a little bit of a gist, so the main character, her name is, I always have to look at the back, like I get so many different characters confused, but the main character, Avery, she is just like no one, kind of came from like a rough home life, things like that, and then suddenly one day she's contacted by this family, so the Hawthorne family, and one of the grandsons of Tobias Hawthorne, this is like the man that's like basically set all of this into action, and the grandson comes, lets him know like, hey, you're put into the will of my grandfather, like you need to be here for the will reading, etc, etc. And she has no idea. She's like, who the hell are you? And I don't want to give too much away, but it just then goes into like absolutely changing her life. There is a love triangle, there's like different like kind of like mystery, there's riddles to solve, like all kinds of things. It's just such a fun read. It's an easy read, but it's really fun and just kind of like kept me like the pages turning. And then I did go ahead and read the second one in the series, The Hawthorne Legacy. It's same character, so it just picks up right where this one left off, and it was good. It was like just less, I don't know, I feel like because I was already in this world and I kind of knew what was happening, like I read the entire thing. However, I didn't feel quite as like, oh my goodness, like flipping through the pages, but there was still some like plot twists and things in here that kept happening that I was like, wait, what? And then there was also some plot twists in here that I was kind of disappointed at. I don't know. I'm like mixed emotions about this one. This one, amazing. This one, it's good, but it's not great. So that's my feelings on the Inheritance Games trilogy. I think the final one's called The Final Gambit. That's definitely on my TBR as well, but once again, it's not coming in until July. I might download it on my phone though, and read it beforehand. We'll kind of see. I just definitely want to have like the physical copies, and I couldn't get the paperback or the hardback because like I have the other two in paperback and it just would have felt wrong. Lastly, I feel like some people are going to be offended about this. The book that I DNF'd is this one. It's Aqua, so the actual full name, A Court of Wings in Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. If you guys don't know, this is the third book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series. It's so good, and that's the thing that's upsetting. Like I absolutely loved the first couple books. However, I think I'm in a slump with this world and this little bit of fantasy, which kind of breaks my heart because I do thoroughly enjoy it. I'm like this far into it, so a little less than halfway. I'm 304 pages in, and it's just, I feel very discouraged because I'm like 300 pages in and it feels like I've made absolutely zero progress. I think that's maybe my issue with these books, just because they're quite hefty. I mean, that's common with Sarah J. Maas. Like I feel like a lot of her books are quite thick. So I DNF'd it as of right now, but I do want to finish this within June. I just need to like, I feel like I need to sit down for a full day and just like binge the rest of this book. I feel like that's the best way to go about this. So these are the books that I read within the month of May. Super good. Well, kind of read this one halfway, I guess. Super good. I was kind of in that like summer romance mood at the beginning of the month, and then toward the end I hopped back into like a thriller, and now I feel like I'm in like back in my fantasy little era. Okay, coffee break. Getting into my TBR for this month. This is quite a hefty stack, so I might be being a little bit ambitious with this. However, this is what I want to finish. Hopefully I can just like be on a reading roll. It's summer. I feel like it's just like the perfect vibe to sit outside and just like read. I love that. These are all the books I plan to read. How many even are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 7 books total. My camera battery died, so I had to change that out really quick. So the first couple books that I plan to read this month is actually a trilogy. It is the Shadow and Bone trilogy here. I have already started the Shadow and Bone one. I actually started it last night, so it's still within the month of June. I just am filming my video a little bit late. I'm on chapter 10 right now, so just under 150 pages in. It is so good so far. I'm genuinely impressed. I did not know anything about this book going into it. I just seen a ton of recommendations on like TikTok, Book Talk, all that type of stuff, and like booktubers are recommending this, and I am really enjoying it. It's fantasy, but it has the vibe of like it's easy for me to digest, if that makes sense. I feel like some fantasy can be a little bit like so far-fetched and out there that like my brain is having a hard time keeping up, trying to like envision this world. I don't have this issue with this thus far. It's like, it's fantasy and like unrealistic, but it's not to the point where it's like I can't see it, if that makes sense. I hope those of you that like get what I mean. I don't know. But yeah, I'm really liking it. So far going into it, there is kind of like they're in the midst of a war and she was frightened of this thing. It's called the Shadow Fold. I don't know. It's kind of like, I think of it as like this like forbidden land type vibe with like creatures, and I don't know. I haven't gone too far into understanding like why it was created or anything. I just know there's different like tiers. So there's like a king, and then there's like the darkling, and then there's a couple other tiers. I forget the names of them, but there's kind of like a hierarchy here. And then there's the soldiers. So the main girl, Alina, she started out and she was just a soldier, and then she comes across like that she has this like gift. So now she's like going into this whole other world, and I feel like there's going to possibly be like an enemies to lovers type trope in here, and I don't even know, it wouldn't even be considered enemies to lovers, because it's not like the character, he just simply didn't know she existed and then she was scared of him. So I don't know what you'd call that, but I feel like that's what's gonna happen. I genuinely have no idea what's gonna happen in these next 2 books. I don't know. I don't want to read the back. I honestly am not a huge fan of reading the back of books. It's just like if someone tells me they recommend it and I've like trusted their previous recommendations, I'll read it. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this. I'm thoroughly liking it so far. I'll definitely keep you guys updated as to like what's happening throughout like my weekly vlogs and everything, and of course in next month's video. But thoroughly excited for this and thoroughly enjoying what I already have read. And then going into it, so this is actually, I don't fully understand how, but this next duology is connected to that trilogy. So it kind of shows it here on the back. I've seen a lot of things online like controversial in like the order in which to read these, but I don't know. I'm going to start with the Shadow and Bone, and then I'm going to go into the Six of Crows and then Crooked Kingdom. And I think there's another one on here called King of Scars, or maybe that's going to be coming out. Something like that. I don't know. I'll have to probably get that one. I don't have that copy. But they're like, I think you can read these as standalones, but then somehow it's all like interconnected in the same world. Kind of confused on that, but I guess I'll see how it plays out eventually. After I read the Shadow and Bone, I do want to start this. This is going to be the Six of Crows duology. I will actually read the back of this to you, just because it sounds kind of entirely different than that. So I'm curious to see how these are going to end up being connected. Ketterdam, a bustling hub of international trade where anything can be had for the right price. And no one knows that better than criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker. Kaz is offered a chance to a deadly heist that could make him rich beyond his wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. A convict with a thirst for revenge, a sharpshooter who can't walk away from a wager, a runaway with a privileged past, a spy known as the Wraith, the Heartrender using her magic to survive the slums, a thief with a gift for unlikely escapes. Kaz's crews are the only ones who might stand between the world and destruction if they don't kill each other first. So, not the usual, like, I feel like if I just pick up the back of this and not had recommendations of it in the past, I honestly probably wouldn't buy it. But given that people are really recommending this, I was like, okay. And ironically enough, I ended up finding this at a thrift store for $2, brand new. Like, these have never been used, and it was still like in its little box set. I just got super lucky, and so I was like, oh, I've seen these on TikTok, so then I picked it up and I was like, holy shit, now I'm like such a steal. And then the next thing, this is actually part of a series as well. This is just one of the final books in the entire series. So The Selection, I feel like it's commonly known once again on like all the social media platforms and like the book world. I have already read all of the other ones, except I haven't read Happily Ever After. It doesn't come in the box set. Like, I got these in the box set. Once again, I found these at a thrift find, literally brand new. It was $5 for the entire set. But it goes, you can see on the back, so The Selection, I think it's The Elite, The One, The Heir, and then now The Crown. So I am a tiny bit way in. Okay, I'm only 30 pages into this. They're quite easy reads. I read all the other ones and then I kind of just like got bored of this little world, but I definitely want to pick this back up just so I can genuinely like finish the series. I hate leaving them hanging. I want to be able to like complete it and like have that satisfaction. So I do want to read this month. I feel like I can genuinely like plow through this pretty fast. It's less than 300 pages, so not a huge task there. And then finally, oh, let me give you guys, if you can't already tell, the genre of this. It kind of has like a bits of romance. It has, I don't know, it goes into like the hierarchy, if you can tell by literally like The Crown. Going in, I'll tell you a little bit about like The Selection starting out. So The Selection, there is this world, I don't even remember, America, that's the main character's name. So America, she is in like a lower rank family, kind of like more so on the lines of like poverty. She's in love with this boy, but he is like a rank below her, and it's like frowned upon, I guess, to like marry down like that. And it's all based on like certain ranks. There's like 4s, 3s, 5s, like 1s, things like that. So she is lower. I believe she starts off as like a 5, something like that. So she's pretty poor. They're always like hungry, you know, like really like struggling to make money. And then there is the king and queen, and they have something called The Selection. So once the son comes of age, then they start the process where everyone can put in like a ballot in all the provinces, and then they ended up choosing like, I don't remember how many people it is, or if it's like one from each province. And then those girls are selected, and then they go to this castle, and then basically he takes them all on dates, and he's kind of like dating them all at the same time, withers it down until he finds like the one. But it goes down by rank, like at first, hence the titling of the books. There's like, everyone's there, a ton of girls, and then he like meets them all, and he slowly like eliminates them down. And then once it goes to a certain point, then it's like the elite, and that's like the final kind of like ending before he chooses like his wife, and like who will eventually be like the queen and everything. And then it goes down to the one. So that's kind of the gist of, I guess, like the whole series. I'm really excited though. It's honestly really enjoyable. It's definitely YA, that type of vibe. So I definitely want to finish it. And then this last book, it is more of a rom-com type vibe. I've seen this recommended. I think it's maybe newer. When's even the publishing date of this? I've never heard of this author either or read her, so I'm intrigued to see if I like her writing style. Okay, I believe this was published in 2019. Something that catches me off guard about books is how they can be published like so many years later, and then like after like 5 years they can like take off. It just, I'm like, what? But I'm really excited. The Honeymooners, I'm gonna go ahead and read the back of this just because I haven't really heard too much about it, but like I've seen, I think I literally saw like one TikTok and I was like, sold, I'll order it. So from sworn enemies on a Hawaiian trip of a lifetime, anything can happen, maybe even love, in this romantic comedy from the New York Times best-selling authors of Roomies. So maybe you guys would have heard of Christina Lauren, Roomies. I guess she also wrote that book. So it's definitely giving the vibe now, like seeing this enemies to lovers trope. Oliver Torres is used to being the unlucky twin. From inexplicable, oh, Olive? Yeah, Olive. Okay, at first I thought that was a guy, but I think it's a girl. From unexplicable mishaps to recent layoff, her life seems to be almost comically jinxed. By contrast, her sister, Amy, is an external champion. She even managed to finance her entire wedding by winning a slew of contests. Unfortunately for Olive, the only thing worse than constant bad luck is having to spend the wedding day with the best man and her nemesis, Ethan Thomas. Olive braces herself for the wedding hell, determined to put on a brave face, but when the entire wedding party gets food poisoning, the only people who aren't affected are Olive and Ethan. Suddenly, there's a free honeymoon trip up for grabs, and Olive will be damned if Ethan gets to enjoy paradise solo. Agreeing to a temporary truce, the pair head for Maui. After all, 10 days of bliss are worth having to assume the rule of lovely newlyweds, right? But the weird thing is, Olive doesn't mind playing pretend. In fact, the more she pretends to be the luckiest woman alive, the more it feels like she might be. With Christina Lauren's uniquely hilarious and touching voice, The Unhoneymooners is a romantic comedy for anyone who's ever felt unlucky in love. I don't know, a different vibe. Like, I feel like you already know what's gonna happen. Like, they're gonna end up together type vibe. However, I'm excited to see how it plays out. I love books like this for just like a light little refresh, kind of like a palette cleanser after something like, I feel like a lot of the times fantasy, it can be a little bit like much for my noggin and I need a break. So I think I might end up reading this as kind of like a little palette cleanser, maybe in between the Shadow and Bone and then Six of Crows series this month. But that is my TBR for the month of June. I'm really excited. Hopefully I can get through these, and I feel like I'm a big mood reader, so who knows how many of these I'm gonna get through, but these are the ones that I do plan to read. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know this was a little bit different of the content that I've made before, but if you enjoyed it, please let me know. I love being in my reading era and like finding other people in the community. So if you guys have any also like recommendations for any books, like I want to know your 5-star reads. I want to do a video of reading like all of your guys' 5-star reads. I think that'd be so fun, and then seeing like obviously my reaction, like my opinion on them. So look out for that in the future. But once again, thank you so much for watching this video. I love you, and I will talk to you in the next one. Now let's get a thumbnail. Hello? Oh, perfect. Hey. We've been kind of been playing phone tag.
Yeah, no, you're okay. I understand. So I wanted to call and go over your island with you just because you do have a directional color, and I want to make sure.
Yes, yeah, they did notify me of that in the measuring.
Ask because I'd hate for you to get a product that you're not happy with.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Other than that, I will let them know to go ahead and get this ordered. That way they can get you an install date. Did you have any questions for me as far as the email I sent you about your measurements or anything?
Not really. I know I pretty much asked everything whenever they came for measuring. I kind of like quizzed the guy and asked a ton of stuff. So I don't really have anything left though. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right, I will let them know that this is good to go to order, and then once we have the ETA, we'll call you with the install date.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. No problem. Bye.
Bye. Yay, off topic. That is for my countertops coming in. Okay, back to my thumbnail. Ooh. Hi.